Hi everyone, welcome to 40k on Point, the channel that quantify Warhammer 40k. This video describes the Questory of the Imperial Knights, and it is using our quantifiable methodology. If you want to know more about our methodology, please follow the link in the description. The unit that will be assessed in this video are the Crusader, Errant, Gallant, Paladin, Preceptor, and Warden. All knights have a very similar stat line. They all move 12 inches. They have strength and toughness 8, 24 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 9, and a save 3+. Also iron shield, that is 5+, invulnerable save. They have the super heavy walker characteristic that allows them to fall back and shoot and move through infantry unit. The first knight to be assessed is the Crusader. That is the one with 2 ranged weapons. For 480 points, you are getting a knight armed with the Avenger Gatling Cannon and the Thermal Cannon. So the Avenger Gatling Cannon is a heavy 12, strength 6, armor penetration 2, and damage 2 for 36 inch of range. And the Thermal Cannon is a heavy D6, strength 9, AP -4, damage D6. That can be rerolled when it's half range, and it has also a range of 36 inches. This form of knight is only armed in melee with the Titanic Feat, which is itself is very good for 12 attacks, weapon skill 3+, and strength 8, AP -2, and damage D3. So for 480 points, you are getting 24 wounds, toughness 8, save 3+, and invulnerable save 5+ against ranged weapon. So it gives a unit that is worth its point. It clocked at 96% of its worth. The unit is a good anti-tank shooter, dedicate platform against vehicle. It is okay in shooting against infantry. And but its melee capacity are not so great. It has a very good mobility, and also but its fortitude score is a bit high, so the defensive cost for this unit is a bit higher than average. So overall, the Crusader is a unit that is worth its point. The Knight Errant is the one armed with the Thermal Cannon and also a close combat weapon. In this case, it was the Thunderstrike Gauntlet. So for 430 points, you are getting a Thermal Cannon and the Thunderstrike Gauntlet. In close combat, the Gauntlet is having 4 attacks of strength 16, AP -4, damage 6, and you must subtract 1 to hit roll. The ability to throw a vehicle or monster after it was slain was not considered for this metrics. So the Errant performed normally in our metrics. It reached a score of 95%. It has a good anti-tank shooting, but do not reach the 3-star level. It is very good against vehicle in melee, and okay against infantry. Its mobility is very good, like all Questory Knight, and it's because its cost is less than the Crusader. Well, the Errant fortitude cost is also lower. That means your defensive cost per point is lower. They have the same defensive capacity, so now it's just a matter of a difference of point, and it comes the trade-off is that you have less firepower than the Crusader, but you have a better defensive score. So overall, the Errant is assessed to be at 95% its value, so it's worth its point. So for 405 points, you are getting a Knight Gallant, which has a Thunderstrike Gauntlet and a Reaper Chainsword. So he has no range weapon, but it has 5 attacks instead of 4, and its weapon skill is 2+ instead of 3+. So that makes a knight that is dedicated in close combat. So for 405 points, you are getting 24 wounds, toughness 8, save 3 plus, and invulnerable save 5 plus against ranged weapon. So because you're paying less, your defensive cost will be lower. As many things in 40k, a lot of things are trade-offs. So basically you are trading your shooting capacity for an increased melee, anti-tank melee capacity and a lower defensive cost. So at that point, the unit is still in the same horizon. It is worth their points, so the unit is scoring 103%. So Gallant in itself is worth its point. So the next one is the Paladin for 455 points. You are getting a Paladin armed with Meltagun, Thunderstrike Gauntlet, and the Rapid Fire Battle Cannon. So the Rapid Fire Battle Cannon is heavy 2d6, 72 inch of range, strength 8, AP minus 2, D3, blast weapon. So it's a long range weapon. And for 455 points, you're getting 24 wounds, toughness 8, save 3 plus, and 5 plus plus against ranged weapon. So this time it seems that the rapid fire battle cannon is not very efficient for its point compared to the other options, because now the Paladin is moving a bit below the average, so it is worth 85% of its points. So it seems that it is the weakest version of the Knights. Still has some shooting and some melee capacity. It is better with anti-tank melee, but again you are paying for a bit more than the other variants for its capacity, so that's why it's lowering the score. Its fortitude is close to the normal wound, so it is the average of 10, so it's very close to that. Again, it has a good mobility, but the damage output this time do not reach the defensive cost. Well, very close to, but not quite. Next one is the Knight Preceptor. So for 410 points, you are getting a Knight armed with the Las Impulsor, multi-laser, and a Thunderstrike Gauntlet. The Las Impulsor has two choices for shooting. One that is low intensity, more designated towards against infantry. That is heavy 2d6, range of 36 inch, strength 6, AP minus 2, and damage of D3. And the high intensity, which is more anti-vehicular, which has a range of 18 inch, heavy D6, strength 12, AP minus 4, and damage D6. Also, the unit has an interesting characteristic. It can become a force multiplier for the Armiger class. So it allows a reroll of 1 to hit for the smaller knights. So it can be something that is interesting for a knight army. So for 410 points, you are getting 24 wounds, toughness 8, save 3 plus, and 5 plus plus against ranged weapon. The Preceptor performed well in our matrix, reaching a score of 107%. Because it costs less, its defensive cost is lower. That's why its fortitude is below average. Its damage output is average in shooting and anti-personal melee, but it is quite good in anti-tank melee, and it has a good mobility. So overall, the damage output of the unit is a bit better than its defensive cost. So that makes a unit that is a bit more than worth its point. Next unit is the Knight Warden for 440 points. You are getting a knight armed with the Avenger Gatling Cannon, Meltagun, and the Thunderstrike Gauntlet. So essentially the Warden is worth its point, like many of its knight counterparts. It has very close to average fortitude score. That means your defensive cost is close to the average. It has a shooting capacity and anti-personal melee capacity that are okay. and it is okay. It's good. It is good in anti-tank melee. But overall, the cost, the defensive cost is about the same as the damage output that this unit can do. So it is considered to be worth its point. So most of the knights are worth their point, and they can be interesting into friendly games. I'm not sure they will be able to reach that 200% efficiency for competitive gaming. That being said, all the knights have very similar score per point. There are some variation, but nothing that is exceptional, except the Gallant, which is very different in its damage output than the others, and everything is a trade-off. So if you're paying more for shooting, then you're losing on other aspect, and so that makes most of the knight worth close to the same thing. I have to say that I have the Preceptor seems to me like a very interesting choice, because I think the Armiger are something that are interesting in 9th edition, and because it is a force multiplier, I think it can be a very interesting choice for knight players. If we push a bit further this idea of the Knight Preceptor as a HQ and force multiplier for Armiger, you can consider the Questor Mechanicus that allows the Knight Preceptor to have some healing, the Lance Strider that would allow the Knight to give a bonus of +2 for their advance and charge roll, and the Helm Dominatus, which increase for Armiger class, give +1 to hit, and it already has the reroll 1, so it can increase significatively the damage output of the Armiger class. But in itself, the Preceptor do not change that much. However, if we include Rotate Iron Shield, which increases its defensive capacity, and Capacitor Charge, which allow its anti-tank version of its weapon to be 6 shots per turn, it brings the unit to 142% with those two stratagems. And if we include the house, it can brings close to the 200% value. Even if it does not really get there, it does help other Armiger to go even further. Those are good units, and they can increase their efficiency. So for example, the house that was selected was a Noble Combatant. So when it goes to in close combat, it increases the amount of to hit. Sorry, it's Exploding 6, which is almost the same effect. And Slayer of Beast, also that increases its close combat capacity against vehicle. So it brings the unit to a 175% value for the unit. It does not reach the 200% benchmark for competitive unit, but it is a HQ and it is a force multiplier. This video described the Questory for the Imperial Knight using our normalized metrics. Please feel free to comment on how to increase the efficiency of those units. Subscribe if you like this content. I will upload all the units of 40k using exactly the same method. Thank you for watching. Over and out.